Okay, so we've established that these logic gates are actually very useful things. You can make various logical circuits with them, including these arithmetic operators, the sum and the carry bits for a half adder and a full adder circuit. But so far, we have not yet discussed how you get these logic gates in the first place. Like, physically, what is a logic gate? So, that's what we're going to discuss now briefly. And this in itself is, it can occupy us for a whole lecture or so, but I will just give you a couple of small examples of how you can build these gates, starting from basic semiconductor devices that you have seen. So you have seen transistors, FETs, op-amps, and so on. It's very straightforward if you think about it to build some of these gates. So for example, suppose I want to build a NOT gate using transistors. Now, if you remember, we had discussed using a transistor as a switch. And the circuit for that looks something like this. So there was a base voltage that we put and a base resistance. So there is some RC, some RB. And if I take the output over here at the collector, so if this is my input and this is my output. So just to go over the working of this one more time, if when VB is high, no, let's start the other way. When VB is low, so let's say 0, so this is the low state, then there is no current flowing into your gate. So IB is 0. And when IB is 0, IC, which is beta IB, is also 0. So there's no current flowing down the transistor. And if there is no current flowing down, then the voltage at the collector, which is VCC minus ICRC, is going to be equal to VCC itself. So this is high. On the other hand, if VB is high, suppose you put some 5 volts or something over there, some high value, then you have IB, which is non-zero. So IB has some high value. And when IB is high, then IC is high. And when IC is high, then VCC minus ICRC, which is VC, is low. Basically, what is happening is, if you remember, we used to plot VCE over here and IC over here, the diode characteristics. And we had curves that look like this for different values of IB. And if this was the load line, then we used to call this the saturation region. We used to call this, this was the saturation region, this was the cutoff region. So when IC is 0, so this is the cutoff region, you are over here. And when IC has a large value and VCE is 0, then you are over here, the saturation region. So that is what is happening. When, depending on whether VB is low or high, so when VB is low, you are sitting at IC 0. So this is the VB equal VB low regime. And this is the VB high regime. So depending on the VB, your circuit keeps switching between saturation and cutoff. So VB equal to 0, then VC equal to high. Let's call this 1. And similarly, if VB is high, then VC is 0. So this is exactly like a NOT gate. So where this is your VB and this is your VC. So this is one way that you can build a NOT gate using transistors. Of course, this is not the only way. You can build it lots of ways. We also saw one trivial way using just switches and resistors, right? What was that like? We had drawn it last time. NOT gate. So I think it would look something like this. We said that if this switch A is open, then this conducts. So if A is 0, then the bulb is 1. And if A is 1, then the circuit will just flow through this and not through the bulb. Then bulb becomes 0. So this is also a valid representation of a NOT gate using just resistors and like a switch. Whereas what we have done over here on the previous page is with the transistor, it's more automated, in some sense more sophisticated. You can make this actually a part of your circuit. So that was one way of building a NOT gate. We can also talk about building a NOR gate. How should we do this? So let's call this input A. Let's call this input B. And I'm going to take my output over here. So how does this circuit work? Suppose A is high. Wait, this is NOR, no? So when A is high, then this transistor will conduct. Let's say A is high and B is high. Then A is also conducting, B is also conducting, and then the output over here, which is the collector of both of these circuits, becomes low. What if A is high and B is low? Doesn't matter. As long as one of these two conducts, that's fine. Even if A is conducting and B is not conducting, the current is still going to flow through and your output voltage is still going to be low. A1, B high also, it will be low because the transistor B, the second transistor, is now going to draw the current, but current is still being drawn. Only case when this is not going to happen is when A and B are both low. When A and B are both low, neither of these is going to draw a current, and now the output voltage is going to be almost the same as VCC. So this is going to be high. And what is this? This is exactly a NOR gate. Or if you want me to draw the truth table for that, A, B, out. So this is 1, 1, 1, 0. See, the order is a little different from what we normally do. And I'm getting 0, 0, 0, 1. So OR would be if these upper three were 1 and the lower one was 0. But this is the opposite of that. So this is NOR. So this is another way. This is one way of constructing a NOR gate using transistors. There's a special name for this kind of circuit. This is called a TTL circuit, or transistor logic. Why is it called transistor? Not because there are two transistors. It's because the transistor plays the role, it plays two roles. It does the, first of all, it does the role of the logical computation, and secondly, it also does the work of amplifying the signal. So in the example that we saw, it's not really much of an amplifier, but if you build a more complicated circuit, like a real marketable product with for a NOR gate using transistors, then it also accomplishes the task of amplifying your signal in that. So transistor, because transistor does the logical computation of actually doing 0 0 giving you 1 1 0 giving you 0 and so on, but it also does amplification. So transistor logic. You can also have transistor resistor logic and so on, where one of the jobs is being done by a transistor, but the other is being done by some other component. So this is your TTL circuits, and like I was saying, you can discuss TTL circuits also extensively. If you look at some advanced electronics books, possibly they'll have a detailed discussion on that. You don't have to stick with bipolar junction transistors. You can do the same thing also with FETs. So, for example, that circuit that we drew, you could also make something like this. How was that? So here, instead of using transistors, we are using FETs. So you can do these with complementary MOSFETs and so on. So then, accordingly, depending on what kind of component you use, the power consumption will change. How quickly your circuit changes with AB, that also changes. So depending on what kind of application you have, you may prefer to choose bipolar junction transistors, unipolar junction transistors, and so on. So there are lots of different ways. These ways are in no way exhaustive. This is not the only way that you can build a NOR gate or a NOT gate or any of these gates. There are lots of different possible ways of constructing them. Okay, so that is all that I want to say about how to actually build these circuits electronically. The next topic that I want to cover is a couple of more number systems. So I have around 7 minutes in this video. Why don't I start with something called the binary coded decimal system. Also called BCD. Now, what is BCD? It is one way of encoding your decimal numbers using binary, but not quite in the way that we've seen, not using actual binary numbers. So let's take an example. Suppose you want to write the number 19. So 19 in decimal, how do you write it in binary? Let's see, 16, I don't want 8, I don't want 4, I'll take 2 and 1. Okay, I think, yeah. So this is 19 written in binary. Or if you allow me, I will so I will break these into, so what was that? 16, 8, 4, 2, 1, and I'm just going to put some zeros in front of it because that shouldn't really matter, right? So this is into, basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make 8 digits, 4 and 4. Now there's one more thing that I can do, which is I can write 1 and 9 separately in binary. So what is 1 in binary? It is just 1. And what is 9 in binary? that is 0, no, 8 and 1, 8, 4, 2, 1. So then what I can do is I can put this 1 and this 9 together to make uh, a particular representation of 19. So I can write 19 as 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, because this is 1 and this is 9. Mind you, this is not binary, because as you can see over here, these are very different representations. So this way of writing it is called BCD. So this 19 in decimal is this number in binary coded decimal. Okay, binary coded decimal is not binary, because when you're writing it in actual binary as it is over here, you're actually working in terms of powers of 2 all the way throughout. Over here, what we've done is we have broken up this decimal number 19 into its 2 decimal digits, 1 and 9, and then each of those we have represented in terms of these 4-bit binary numbers. So this in itself is binary for 1, this in itself is binary for 9, but the total thing is not binary for 19, it is binary coded decimal for 19. Let's take one more example. Suppose I want to write, what should I take? Let's take 31. So 31 in binary is going to be, so 31 decimal in binary, it is 16, 8, 4, 2, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. But 31, if I want to write the same number in binary coded decimal, first I'm going to write 3. So 3 is 1, 1. So 0, 0, 1, 1. And 1 is just 1. So this is 31 written in BCD or binary coded decimal. Why do we do this? Because the computer likes to work in terms of zeros and ones. It likes binary, but we like to read things in terms of decimal. It is much easier for us to read this as 3 and this as 1 than to read this entire number. For this, we have to do a calculation in our head and be like, okay, this must be 31 because we add up 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. But this is easier to read. Therefore, sometimes we use the binary coded decimal system. How do you convert back from BCD to decimal? Well, that is the most straightforward thing. It's easier than doing binary. Basically, if I give you, suppose I give you 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 in BCD, and I ask you what is this number in decimal, then okay, we'll just split it into 4 and 4. The first 4 is, this is 8, and this is 4 and 2, 6. So this is 86 in decimal. Important thing to note is that these are 4 bits. So in principle, you can go all the way from 0 to 15, but that is never going to happen because in decimal, you're never using a number greater than 9. So the largest 4-bit set that you can have is 1001 because this is 9. So these are all the digits that you can get in a BCD, in binary coded decimal representation.